Hey everyone, welcome back to International Women's Day on Feed Your Brand. And I am live with my good friend Penny Zenker. And hey, Penny, thank you so much for
Yay.
joining me.
Thanks
So,
for having me.
you know what? We've had a couple of organizationally focused how-to women today, and I love that because it was just between Juliette Clark, Jennifer Ford-Berry, like we're tackling the how-to side of things, and that's something you and I have in common, and I totally love that about us. That we have that mind
Totally.
share. Like there's
I know.
systems.
I love it when I talk to you. I know that stuff's going to get done, right?
That's right. And so, you know what, we have this, I think that is a really unique characteristic with most of the women that I have as podcast hosts here, that there are a lot of get stuff done women, and they got lots of how-to, lots of know-how, lots of tools and systems, and you've got some really cool things. So let's kind of set everybody up so they get to know you a little better, because I know you really well. So, but you are an international speaker. You're a best-selling author. You've got Tug of War with Time is your website. And you've got really cool tips and lots of stuff on there. We'll talk about that. Take Back Time is your podcast. And I love that title. I had a little to do with naming that with you. And I love it because it really is just exactly what we all want. We just want more time in the day, right? And we want to take back time for the things that are important to us. And that fits our theme today of balance for better and life and harmony.
Totally.
But you've done some really cool new things. You've got your P10 productivity. You've got the book, The Productivity Zone, which is a great book. If you haven't all read it out there, I've written an article about Penny and the book and her system. And you've got an app, which there's people out there who love to develop an app, and you're working on one. So there's just so much to talk about today. So let's go for it.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So, this is really interesting. So I had not realized that it was before you were 31 that you sold your first multi-million-dollar business. And I knew that you were really successful, but I had no understanding that it was that young. How did that happen?
And really it's funny you're talking about all these, tips and tricks and everything through productivity. Well, it's from all the heartache that I went through in those early years. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't really know what I was doing. And I had a lot of issues with micromanagement, really needing to be in control and not giving people the autonomy that they needed in order to be more productive. Right. So I learned so many things so early on from, as many people do, from doing it the wrong way. And I love to help people to learn from best practices and not have to go through all the heartache in getting there.
Saving trouble. See that I have a whole podcast on that, right? Product launch hazards, saving trouble, save people from all the hazards of product launching, right? Like it's the same thing, right? And so I might, as my husband always puts it, resemble that remark that I might have been a micromanagement freak in my first business, and it might have taught me how not to do things.
Right. Because, going back to the we're getting things done kind of people, right? Yeah. We like to see things moving forward. And there's really good things with that, but there's also some challenges that come along with that we get to put into perspective, to reflect upon, right? Is to where does it start to, and that's why I call it the productivity curve. Where does it start to cost us because we actually tip out of the zone and into what I call overfunctioning or perfectionism.
Right. And we were just talking about perfectionism with Dr. Marissa Pay, who I know you know. That awesome. Is such an evil, right? So I know it's just one of those things where we don't see that line or that zone. And you've put that into an analysis. Is that what your app's about?
Well, so my app is about, what I learned in those early years in running my own business and selling it and how to manage more effectively and how to grow, and faster it's all about reflection, right? So for me, I kind of have a different twist around time management. I'm not really the organization gal. You could tell if you looked at my desk. It's really thinking and acting more strategically. And I think the absolute crux to that, and I didn't even realize this is my secret sauce, is that I step back frequently and I look at the big picture. So whenever I'm even close to getting stuck or, find myself spinning my wheels too long, I step back, right? I step back frequently And so my app and my process, which I didn't even realize that that's what it is, but now I get it better, right? The more you talk about it, people bring it out in you to say, oh yeah, that is my thought process. So I cover the 10 accelerators. I used to call them drivers, but now I really call them accelerators. They're accelerators of success. And so productivity is just a byproduct. And so it enables us to step back and see aspects of our mindset and where are we showing up and how are we showing up and where are we in our aspects and accelerators of strategy and what about sustainability. So they're kind of in these 3 sections, but it gives us a step back to see it more holistically, right, than drilling down into any one particular thing. But what if we step back and look at the big picture? What's the one thing out of those 10 accelerators that's slowing us down?
Well, you're speaking to right where I've been lately. And that is that, I tend to have a big visual view of where we're going and what we're doing at all times in our business and in our lives and our goals. But sometimes you don't take that step back on a daily basis and reflect and say, is this decision I'm about to make in service of that vision? Or am I just making a quick, fast decision and I'm just going with it? And so we've been doing that a lot lately, and it got us really refocused on making sure that we were getting our book and our microphone, which I actually referred to earlier on another show today, is that, really getting those going because they were essential to helping me have the impact that I wanted to have and our business to have the impact we wanted it to have. And that was in direct lines with our bottom line goals as well. But not sitting back and reflecting, like not making time for that was going to hurt our ability to do that. And so little choices you make during the day have big impact later.
Absolutely. Otherwise, what happens is that your goals kind of are going this direction, but the tasks and the things you're doing on a daily basis are diverging. So it's really, bringing those into alignment on a regular basis, because people just don't, I didn't do that for a long time. And then I kind of created a method that I work with that really supports me every day to reflect on, am I focused on the most important things? And actually just recently, about a month ago, I was taking a bunch of actions and then I realized, well, wait a second, this isn't my primary focus. So I need to shift where I'm putting my energy, because there's only so much time and energy that we have, right? So we've got to really be clear what it is that we want to achieve.
So, our theme today is balance for better and life in harmony. So, a lot of what you're doing has an implication to that, because if you're putting your time and energy into the things that matter the most and the things you love and the things you want to be spending time in, the things you're brilliant in, then you are already living in balance and harmony.
Absolutely. The whole concept of balance is, I think it's something that people are seeking, right? And it's something that is almost unattainable. And
you and I are on the same wavelength. That is exactly what I say.
So
I don't call balance BS on stage once and didn't realize it just went right out of my mouth. Ooh. And I said, because it's not the goal, right? And that, because standing on one foot, I've used this analogy already today, but standing on one foot and holding a balanced pose in yoga may be beautiful, but you cannot sustain that forever.
No, and like a plane that goes to one destination, it's almost never on course. It's constantly recorrecting. So recently I was having this discussion with someone. I said, it's really not balance that we're seeking. And because it's not attainable, what we're seeking is meaning and fulfillment.
Yeah.
And so that goes back to, where are you spending your time and energy, and is it fulfilling? And where we feel that we're not balanced is when we're not being fulfilled, because, as an entrepreneur, we might be fully balanced, working more hours than other people work because we love doing it, right? So the question is, are you feeling fulfilled? Is there enough in other areas of your life? Are you taking care of your health? Or is it, or are you working at a cost to your health? Yeah. And when does that become a problem? But we go in sprints. So it doesn't balance. I'd say stop it, right? Stop it right now. Stop.
There you go. I love it, Penny. Exactly. Yeah. Stop thinking that way, because it's not necessary, right? And that's also this comparison that we have to, it should be exactly like this at this point in my life as it is, 20 years later. If that's not the case either, right? It's totally different. Totally. at different points in my life and totally different from you to I. So, we don't have that. We don't have those comparisons aren't necessary for us to understand a balance or harmony,
Absolutely.
as we were putting it here. So I love that. So let's talk a little bit about what people can find in your podcast, because I love that you have, some small things that people can get from your podcast. Like, it's just something I could apply. You once did this live stream that I absolutely love, and I've shared it a dozen times, I think, where you just were like, take back your morning. Like, it was like, take back your whole morning routine and get off your phones, email in the morning, because now you're in somebody else's time. And I was like,
Absolutely.
I'd heard that before, but I never heard it put that way before. And I was like, that truly is taking back time for yourself.
Absolutely. I because everybody talks about, you win the day when you win your morning routine, and they always talk about what to do. But I think the most important thing that we really need to look at in every area of our life is what not to do, right? So, one thing that you didn't mention that I think everybody needs to consider is the negativity of the news. Like, if you're a news person, that's great, but just don't make that the first thing that you consume in the morning, because it's negativity, right? And there's aggression, and it's just not, it's not a great thing to fill yourself up with in the morning. So give yourself a break and do it, later, like 9 o'clock, or do it at lunchtime, right? At 12, and give yourself some time, and do not listen to it before you go to bed. So I'm into the do nots.
I love that. I love that. Let's have some, because we so often are like, oh, we're supposed to live in the positive. But I agree with you. Like, I think there's a lot of things that we learn over time that we just need to avoid. Like just take some advice from someone who's been there before. This is a big old landmine.
Well, the thing is that we're human, right? So we're impulsive. And why do we gawk when there's an accident, right? And everybody rubbernecks and everything stopped. It's because it's not like we want to see something terrible that's happened, but human nature, we're impulsive. And so when we know that, then we better to be clear on what our don'ts are. Like, if you think about it, in this resilience, I did a little resilience workbook in my Accelerate series. And I talked about, or actually, no, this was in the health one. I talked about I don't. So if you're a vegetarian, for instance, right, you know what you stand for. And so there's some clear I don't. I don't eat meat, right? It's not a choice. I mean, it is a choice. Sorry, it's not, it's just something that you don't do. So if we can put some really positive don'ts into our life, then that's going to help us to take back our time and avoid like distractions and impulsiveness, and really be in alignment with our values and what we stand for. And unfortunately, we have to put those things intentionally and purposefully into place, or else we get sucked into all directions.
Right. Well, you don't just talk about time management, you talk about energy management as well.
Yes.
And I think that really is an interesting distinction, because, I mean, it's not just about how much time, but if it's not the energy I want to be in at this time, then that's not good either. So tell me some more about how that connection comes about for you.
Yeah, well, actually, I call it take back time. And we know that it's not really, there's so many, it's a fixed concept, right? So it's what people think they want. So, but it really is all about our energy. So, in that discussion that we were just having about the I don'ts, that's where do we put our energy, right? And so I believe that energy is everything. And we either are creating productive energy that puts us in the zone, or it's unproductive energy. So for instance, if, we were talking about getting stuff done, right? So sometimes where I got caught up in the past was that I like to get stuff done. So when I'm looking at my to-do list at the end of the day, I'd be a little disappointed and deflated because I didn't do enough, right?
Yeah. So I actually got a new to-do list that's really short, because I used to have this big long one. So this only has like so many spaces, because I was like, that's it. That's my priorities today. That's it. Those are the only ones that I'm going to care about. I'm going to make sure get done today. And like, I stopped looking at the bigger list. Now there are pages behind it, because I wanted to make sure that I like note some things that I remember to do, but I'm like, no, they're not. They're hidden behind the other pages. I'm not even going to look at them. But when I was looking at that big to-do list, I was like,
right. It changes your energy. When you look at the big list, you get overwhelmed, right? Warren Buffett talked about having two lists. He's got his big list, and then he's got, the smaller critical list. So I call it, and I came up with this. I have actually a little
There's your
30-day
another one with
planner.
Yay.
I have a 30-day planner, and it's basically the pages in there help you to do what I call the 1-3-5, which is 9 things are on your to-do list every day. And you can have the bigger to-do list that you'll go back to after you do those 9 things, but it's one thing that moves you forward towards something really long-term strategic. Maybe it's your legacy move, right? Your thing that really energizes you, and long-term, you wouldn't even do those things if you focused on everything that had to be done, right? And then 3 things that are sort of midterm or short-term milestones that are also aligned with your goals. And then 5 things that are urgent, because it's unrealistic to say the one thing. Well, yeah, nice life you've got if you can focus on one thing, right?
Yeah.
Not reality.
No.
But 9 things, you can really feel satisfied at the end of the day. So I shifted my whole energy and my transition into my home life by recognizing and celebrating the things that I did do, and know that I did the 9 most important and urgent things that needed to be done. And then if anything else got done, great. Right. And then
celebrate.
Exactly. And actually we don't do that enough, right? As a go person, I don't take the time to reflect and celebrate what I did do, what wins I had, and do that daily reflection, right? So I created this sort of daily planning and reflection model so that every day I've got one page, that's all it is, to go back to and kind of do that summary. And so I encourage people to do that. I give the sheet away for free. If people like to have a book, there's a book on Amazon that they can pick up that has 30 days, and to do it for 30 days and see the difference that it makes.
Wow. I'm going to have to do that, because I always take good advice from people like Penny, because I know how productive she is, and I know what she accomplishes. One of your big accomplishments late last year was your TED Talk. And
actually, that was 2 years ago now.
It was 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was just last year, but I guess it was late the year before, right?
It was,
yeah. So how has that gone for you? I mean, how did you prepare for that and get ready and put that in the scope of priorities for you?
Well, it's one of those things that was in the long-term goal, right? At the time. So I do a vision board, and it was on my vision board, that I just love that platform. I think that it's what it stands for and the quality of the messaging that comes from that platform. I said, that's something that I want to be a part of. And so I put it on the radar, and then I kept, taking a look, and I saw some that were theme-wise gonna work with what I talk about. And, and I applied. And that's the kind of process it is for the TEDx's, is that you apply for it. And if you're a good fit and you do a presentation for them, so it doesn't matter if you're a professional speaker, because they actually have all different types of students and people from different backgrounds. And they put you with a coach, which was really fun.
Wow.
The thing that was interesting for me, and probably most scariest, is you had to memorize it.
And I'm used to winging it too. Like,
yeah. Like that, I just that panicked me more than anything.
I've never given the same talk twice.
Like, what if I'm like, so,
I've done theater. I should be able to memorize, but I feel like the older I get, the harder that is to memorize stuff. Like it is.
Well, and it's harder to come from the heart when you memorize it, right? So the reason that I like to kind of just have a guideline is because then I can really let it flow wherever your heart feels like it wants to go, and the words that it wants to use. But it was good. It was a really good process. And I think it's like anything, it's, again, we're talking about energy. It's the energy that you come into it with, that I was excited to do it in a different way and to learn and to work with these coaches. And there were some amazing people and amazing stories that were a part of it. And since then, I love when I hear from people, they're hiring me for a speaking engagement for their organization. And I say, where did you, find out about me? Did you find me on a platform? And they'd say, oh, well, we saw your TED Talk and we really liked it and really wanted you to come and bring that message to our team. So
That's really great. And you know that, speaking of, because it's International Women's Day, right? That's one of the things that I've been very impressed with the TEDx programs and everything, is that they really do highlight great women and men. So like it's really well balanced there, and how they're doing that. And I love that, because I think that's really important to make sure that women's voices are heard. That's part of why we're highlighting you guys today, because we want all of our wonderful women podcasters to have their shows found, because there's a lot of brilliance going on. There's a lot of day-to-day things that you're helping with, and there's a lot of big picture things and big business things. So many of us, especially women in leadership positions in our companies, so whether we're CEOs, we're running our own firms or whatever, it's very lonely.
Yeah.
And so
well, especially because we can't really talk to our male counterparts because they have different challenges. And, you know, I think you might agree with this, is that we feel as women that we might be being put on the spotlight, like, you know, because women, if we're direct, then we're bitchy, right? Like we're not.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you mean there. But yeah, well, and for me, that's even harder because my family, it's a family business. So, you know, if I'm having doubts or questioning things, like it shakes the foundation when I really just need to have someone to explore with and talk with.
Yeah.
And so that's why getting to know and having some other voices in my head going, oh, I know exactly the person I can reach out to. I can reach out to Penny, or I can reach out to Juliet or Dr. Pei. Like there's all these women in my life that I can reach out and they'll get it. And they're not going to judge, because they know that we all have these doubts or we all have these thoughts going through, and we all need to explore them, because our style is to talk things through.
Totally. Right. And that is not what men are used to.
Some men, mine's good at it, but some men are not. You're right. Exactly. So, well, is there anything else you want to leave our audience with today? You know, anything about women in your life and other things that you just like to leave us with?
Well, women in my life. So I would like to thank my mother as the most significant woman in my life, who has, you know, really instilled all of my work ethic and my integrity. And, you know, so I know she's not listening, but I'll make her listen to this and let her know how much I love and appreciate her. My mom's not on Facebook either. So, you know, so definitely a recognition for my mom. And all the, you know, all the challenges, like me being a mom now, I've never appreciated my mother more in knowing, you know, how challenging it can be at times, right? And the sacrifices we make, and all the things that we're trying to juggle.
You have a teenager, so
you
have two teenagers, right? That's right. You have two teenagers. So we've discovered over the course of today already that teenagers are much more challenging than infants and toddlers. We don't realize that till we get to the teenhoods, right? And so that's when we appreciate our moms the most. I think that exactly happened for me. That was the moment I called up my mother and said, "I'm so sorry, Mom. Like, I'm so sorry I was a terrible teenager. Like, I'm so..."
I know I was terrible too. So I expect every piece of payback that I'm getting. But as a last thing to have people think about, since you know, today is about balance and harmony. One of the most important things I believe is our transitioning, and that we don't put enough intention. And it's something I'm working on all the time, because it's easy to slip back into just being automatic. But really being intentional about shifting from when you're working, especially I work from home a good part of the time. So, you know, when I leave my office door, that I'm really leaving the office. And so, you know, the more intentional that we can be about our transitions, or after a meeting or going into a meeting, that we take just 5 minutes to dump what's in our head so that we can be fully present wherever we're going to next. And, you know, and maybe take a centering breath to ground ourselves and really be present, especially if it was any kind of a conflict or, you know, heavier situation, right? Because we can do this. We compartmentalize all the time. And so we just need to be intentional and really purposeful about it. And I can say that transitions have been huge, especially in the most stressful times of my life. I believe have served me huge by really being intentional with those, like screaming out loud, singing, right? Because that actually has a really stress relieving effect. And so whatever it is for you to really find that few minutes transition between different times of the day.
Such great advice. Well, this is everyone out there. This is why I brought you Penny Zenker, because, always moments of brilliance that I'm like, oh, I got to make a note of that. And so thank you so much. Take Back Time is available anywhere, Spotify. I heard you're like all over the place. Anyone can find you. That's right. Tug of War with Time is the website, and you can all find all Penny's books, all of her workbooks. You can link to the app, I'm assuming, from there as well. Yep.
Absolutely.
All of that can come through there. So please, everyone, seek her out, because this woman is absolutely brilliant. And I'm so pleased to be celebrating International Women's Day with you, Penny. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Tracy. You are awesome. I don't know if anybody's told you that today, but I really appreciate you. And thanks for doing this for everybody who's online.